Very good afternoon, everyone. We're just waiting for a couple of more minutes so that all the participants who've registered can join in, and then we will begin. So if I could just request your patience for a couple more minutes. Thank you. All right. It seems that we've achieved the minimum quota that was needed. So again, a very good afternoon to you all, and a very warm welcome to the Ulysses European University webinar on COILs, or Collaborative Online International Learning Program. I am Chandan Atreya, and I am part of the Université Côte d'Azur, one of course, the 8 members that forms the Ulysses European University Alliance. Just for the information of all the participants, this particular webinar is being recorded, and the recording and all the slides of the presentation will be shared with all the participants a bit later after the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, I would request you all to guard them, and we could probably share them at the end of the presentations. And of course, the chat rooms are open, so please feel free to interact with yourselves, connect with each other, and of course, we are waiting for your questions. So without wasting much further time, I just wanted to quickly share what we will be talking about today, the short sort of agenda for the program. So we will have an introduction, of course, as to why we are here together this warm afternoon in Nice, at least. We will understand what COIL is. What are the different strategies that you could use as educators, as institutes, as universities for successfully implementing COIL across your faculties? What are the different benefits and, of course, challenges that running a COIL program offers to you? We will have a testimonial as well. We will see how and where we can start. Most importantly, we will also have a short discussion about the seed fund call for teachers within the Ulysses network. We will speak about collaboration, and then, of course, how you can move ahead on this very interesting journey. So, why are we all here together today? So we are, of course, an international European alliance. Increasingly across the world, all higher education institutions want to talk about increasing the scope of their international activities, or internationalization, as we put it. However, the world today is not what it used to be before, or even a few months back. There are challenges that all of us face as higher education institutions, as staff, as academics, as teachers and educators. And in that, we need to keep in mind that we now have a shift that is happening when it comes to internationalization, the very word itself. Earlier, when we spoke about internationalization, it basically meant a physical mobility outside of your home institution, your home country, and then a visit. But then what it also means is that it is just a very smallish group of the entire diaspora, the entire ecosystem that your university, or any university, offers for that matter. And as higher education institutions, it is important that every member of the university setup has a sort of engagement when it comes towards internationalization. And therefore, the word that now seems to be more popular is looking at internationalization at home. Internationalization for all the members of the community that is formed within a higher education institution. And of course, the need is now. We need to do it immediately. So when I say internationalization at home, so it is basically different activities that we can effect to develop an intercultural and an international competence without involving a physical mobility. So you basically, just like I am discussing with you all right now, sitting here in France, in a way to bring the whole world to me rather than look for avenues where I could, keep traveling and then do that across the entire network that we have. Now, internationalization at home requires virtual exchanges. And one of these activities is what we are going to discuss today, which is COIL, or again, Collaborative Online International Learning. And these can then be implemented within an internationalization at home strategy within your home institutions. So, just to give you a quick overview, so virtual exchange is very common. The world has changed over the past 5 odd years as well, if nothing else. So there are multiple tools that we use. There's telecollaboration, there's online intercultural exchange. There's things like global virtual teams, how we interact right now over Zoom or Teams or whichever platform that you use. And in all of that, COIL becomes a very key sort of methodology in how we can bring about virtual exchange. Now, COIL is, of course, quite well documented. These activities have been going on around the world for a while. But the advantage that it offers is that COIL can rather quickly align itself with what any institution would want to have as its strategy, both for within and for the rest of the world. So I'm talking about within the university setup as well, or also for the internationalization cause, as we call it. The most important thing, which all of us have to be very, very aware of, and this is the reality of today's world, is that COIL offers a cost-effective and a scalable sort of methodology. So it does not involve, like I said, rather expensive physical mobilities, as you would all attest to that. But then the point is, it is also quite scalable. If you have an interesting or a successful pilot, this can then be moved across multiple subject lines, across multiple faculties. The biggest opportunity that it offers for everyone, and this is something that I spoke about in my introduction itself, is that it allows for equity and access. And this is why we are all here together as higher education institutions. It brings about a sense of saying that, look, we have sort of globalized the curriculum so that our students who pass out of the university are global citizens. They are people who can think for problem statements across the world and not just necessarily within a small or a smaller sort of geography as such. Our students need to be globally competent. The more you interact with people, the more you interact with different cultures, different ways of thinking, your competence increases, and therefore you are a valuable member of the society. It adds on to how you can bring about diversity and inclusion within your campuses. There is no escaping the fact that we all need some level of technical literacy as well as technical expertise. So it brings in the skills that are needed for today's world. A COIL program is no different from the sort of curriculum that we offer, the subjects that we give for the students. So these activities are primarily student-centered learning. It involves us as educators to be more innovative, to be more creative in how we are presenting the information to our students. And hopefully at the end of running these COIL programs, we can see real tangible results in looking at, high impact sort of outcomes that we have in running programs such as these. So I hope that this is kind of helping you, get a taste of what COIL is and at least interesting you in how we can go ahead with it. Now, moving to the next slide. So again, this particular webinar basically would like to introduce to you or inform you as participants who have no idea what COIL is or who may have heard about what COIL is, to tell you that this is what COILs are about. We also hope to explain the structure in running a particular COIL program, some tips on how you can implement it more efficiently. And then at the end of the day, we would also like to share an idea on how you can actually start a COIL if you were to be if you are an interested educator, of course. The fundamental thing that I would like to impress upon you all, without exception, is the fact that COIL is not a new course. It is not something that we expect of educators to come up with another initiative, because I am very, very aware as educators, you are all extremely busy within your own coursework itself. Therefore, to kind of reduce your anxieties, COIL is not a new course. But what it is, however, is a new sort of thinking, a new philosophy, a new methodology to deliver on what you are already doing, your existing course. So it, if I could put it in my very humble layman terms, I think that it offers you as educators an avenue to be more creative, to be innovative in ensuring that the information that you share as teachers to your students has a higher impact, and that all your students can benefit a lot more. Now, when we come to the COIL, the biggest challenge that we have, of course, is just like anything that we do in the world when we want to engage another person, is finding the right overlap. So, like I explained, it is an existing program, an existing subject course that you have in your university. You will need to find a similar sort of program, of course, from your partner's point of view as well. Now, again, I will talk about it in my later slides, but you are not limited to one partner. You can have as many as you like. But then at the same time, because this is an internationalization at home initiative, you will also need to bring onto the table what the international perspectives are. Therefore, if you look at this beautiful Venn diagram that we have, it is at the confluence of these three spheres about your program, your partner's program, and the international perspective that you want to bring to your education, is where a COIL collaboration would ideally sit. Now, COIL, like I explained to you, for educators or for teachers, is that it is an innovative method of teaching and, of course, for learning for your students, where we are using, contemporary, modern technological tools to ensure that you have global learning and at the same time a sense of interaction across the world within your classrooms. It basically involves a sense of collaboration, both from a teacher's perspective, but more importantly, towards a student perspective as well. And again, like I said, you need not limit yourself to one partner country, but then that particular sort of program is only limited by your imagination. You can make it as complex or simpler as you think would work well for you. And then, this is, of course, in any sort of teaching program that you as an educator would have. But then at the same time, like I explained before, this is an academic lesson. So the point that, you would have to bring across is that this is developed together. It is not done in isolation as a teacher or a set of teachers across the world, but it also heavily involves your students to be part of it. So it's a sort of active engagement that you have with your target audience, which of course are your students here. And then you're using this to say, how do we develop this sense of cross-cultural communication? How do we ensure that our students are aware that we can talk to multiple people around the world and come up with a sort of shared solution? You can do it over an entire course, or you could do it for a few lessons. It again allows a lot of flexibility and a lot of how do I say, wiggle room, if you want, to play around and then come up with a solution that would be feasible for both you, your partners, and your individual sets of students. Now, but however, like always, there are certain riders. So a COIL at the end of the day should be equitable and inclusive, in the sense that all who are participating in this particular program have equal access, equal sharing, and equal rights to all the information that is developed. It will require you very strongly as teachers, at least at the initial stage, to impress upon your students how you're going to go about it. Because I know that sometimes, it could be perceived as, look, there's so much more work that you have to do. It's not. It's basically doing the same work, but in a slightly different way. And then whenever you have change coming in, the best way to go about it is through communication. So you will need to definitely tell your students that what exactly is needed of them, what would be the expectations that you can, of course, negotiate and set together. And then you can say that how does this particular COIL program or participating in this initiative help with the learning objectives that your students would be interested in as a course itself. Primarily, it also is very heavily dependent on your students to expose them to different learning opportunities when they connect with each other. I could be sitting here in France, but then and my current problem could be that, oh, look, how do I escape the sun? But then when I'm talking to, say, a partner in Northern Europe, their perspectives would be completely different. So it is that which actually helps build newer information, new ways to connect, and new ways to learn. And at the end of the COIL program, you definitely need to have a sort of reflection activity where the students can actually take a step back, look at what work they've done together, what learnings they've unearthed of each other and of themselves as well, and then use that as a way to then move on to the next sort of program or a next evolutionary step, depending on how you would like to look at it. So these reflection activities have found to be quite vital and quite important in ensuring that you have a how do I say, an engaged participation in the program and across into future avenues as well. Now, there are certain basic components of COIL. So like I said, COIL can be created in any discipline. It is completely agnostic to the subject. We have surprisingly seen that interdisciplinary collaborations work quite well. I mean, for example, if I just off the top of my head, there were some studies, for example, with a group of engineering students who collaborated internationally with a group of students who were studying art. And then it was trying to understand the confluence about how design can influence new age engineering, and at the same time to explain to art and design students that, look, there are certain considerations that you would have to keep in mind if there was to be an installation in real time in today's world. This is not just a attend as you like program. So this definitely has credit courses. These are graded activities, so there is a sense of ownership and a sense of responsibility from the student's point of view as well. This is all about internationalization. So the main component is, of course, about cross-cultural interactions, about understanding collaborations, understanding intercultural differences, and then benefiting from it all. Students, of course, would have to work in teams. So these are basic life skills that you need even in any part of your life. Most of the activities you will find will not be in a synchronous manner, because keep in mind that there are different time zones, different cultural probable considerations that you have to keep. So there may be some activities that would be synchronous, but most of them are asynchronous. And this would require the students to work in an asynchronous manner. So it's not something that you have to, keep pushing on. It'll be the students who will have to develop that sense of responsibility on their own, of course, with your guidance as teachers. And again, it's technology agnostic. You can use whichever platform you like. We've seen successful programs or reports on students who've just done programs together on WhatsApp. You can use Teams. I mean, there are multiple platforms across the world right now. I mean, I would have to learn from you depending on how many platforms you use. But then you can use any sort of technology tool to affect the final goal that you have in developing your COIL program. There are, of course, certain strategies. The most important thing would be that, look, these programs or initiatives like these are only limited by your creativity and your innovation as teachers and students. There is no status quo. In fact, you are encouraged to challenge the status quo when it comes to developing new COIL interactions or COIL programs. Since everything is about equity, inclusion, you must ensure across both you and your partner networks that the technology that you finally use should be accessible to everyone. It doesn't serve the purpose if you have a small subset of students who actually don't even have access to the basics that you might have taken for granted, keeping in mind how you are placed. The technology also should help you to reach to the shared learning objectives that you've both agreed upon as a teacher community as well as your student community. The first few, like I said, a COIL is primarily asynchronous with some synchronous activities. So the synchronous activities could actually be about developing proper icebreaker activities, because think about it, you have two isolated set of students who might not know much about each other or each other's way of work or each other's way of life. So it's very difficult to start off on a shared journey with strangers. So the more you can develop these sort of engagements, icebreaker activities, so that the groups know who they're working with, would definitely help you have a more successful COIL engagement. And of course, the reflective activity actually helps you to get active feedback and evolution on what needs to happen for the next program that you will run. So all COIL courses are evolutive at the end of the day. They are not limited to say, oh, we did something and we need to repeat the same thing. You can take the learnings from the past and then, move them on to a more elaborate or a more successful program. And of course, because this is a graded activity, it is not a new course. It is part of what you are offering as universities, as educators, as teachers. It should also advance the course learning objectives at the end of the day. Your students must say that, look, I did this very interesting activity working with students across the world, and this is how it has helped me, develop my knowledge further in terms of breadth or and as depth as well. So just for a quick sort of a recap, you need to make it it can be in any subject. However, interdisciplinary pairings, like I, explained before through the example, have been found to be quite interesting and effective. And, the main thing that you can do through such initiatives is that your courses can then truly become interactive, intercultural, which then gives a better sense of understanding to the students. Now, there are certain benefits and challenges, of course. Like I said, we are talking about internationalization, so it helps you develop, a different sense of skills because you are working with another culture or another country or another set of students. It definitely adds in, having better behaviors and attitudes from a global perspective, rather than be, limited to say your country or your region or Europe. You then think more globally, and therefore, your knowledge parameters are increased. But, any new initiative has its own sets of challenges. COIL is nothing new in that as well. As educators, you have to take into consideration how it fits in with the time that you have. Language barriers could be, of course, a real challenge, not just for teachers, but primarily for the students as well. How you and your partner could develop the content of the COIL program that you're offering also becomes an important thing. Arriving together as a shared negotiation in terms of, how do you assess the final outcome of the program? Does your institute or university or your team or your faculty support this particular activity also is a very strong consideration to keep in mind. And then at the end of the day, look, any person that you work with, any new initiative that you work with has a certain sense of, it is a bit of an upward climb. So how best you are, suited, or how best you can adapt to achieve these sort of programs will be something that you will need to take into mind. Now, while I've spoken enough, I think it is most important that you actually listen to someone who's run a COIL program, so that, we believe the proof of the pudding is in its eating. So I would like to now invite Violeta Salonen, our colleague from the Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences. So Violeta is a senior lecturer in experience design and management. And she will basically give a real-time experience of running her COIL program. So Violeta, it's all up to you. I will now mute myself.
Thank you so much, Chandan. And welcome from my behalf as well. So you can take on the next slide. I am teaching in Haaga-Helia University of Applied Sciences, and I teach in a degree program that it's called Experience in Hospitality and Tourism. And I basically teach experience design, so a bit more creative side of the hospitality industry. My background, I'm originally Montenegrin, so therefore you see there are two logos here, University of Montenegro, but I've been living many years in London, and then for the past 20 years in Helsinki, in Finland. And when I saw this Ulysses, and especially COIL, at the first time when we got the info from you, I got interested actually to connect with people from Montenegro, because previously I used to do music. So I thought, okay, this is interesting to explore. How can I make connections with fellow Montenegrins, as well as maybe, give an opportunity for students from both sides to see where we stand in terms of knowledge. And that then I applied, obviously, and you can change the slide, please, so then I can explain briefly how this timeline happened. Actually, initial contact was once I applied and got a grant, and I was going to Montenegro to meet people. The reason why this took 9 months actually was only because I applied late in the spring, and we finish here in Finland end of May, and they finish in end of June, beginning of July. we start academic year in August, they start in October. So there was a bit of a shuffling only time-wise that actually took that long. But once we actually had initial meeting, it happened very fast. The planning was very fast, and now we are already in the execution stage. So as we speak, we are having this COIL at the moment. So a lot of interesting things happening, a lot of different perspectives and so on. So I think it's a brilliant idea, really. It never crossed my mind before this to do a project like this, because as you mentioned briefly earlier, that it's always this mobility standard kind of style that you physically go somewhere, spend a week, or someone comes. But this, I think, gives more opportunity for students, especially to get to know one another and to kind of weight their knowledge as well. Can you please transition to the next slide? Thank you. So our initial contact was so that we started checking the course suitability. So to see, okay, what kind of courses do I teach? What kind of courses do they teach? I got initial contact from this Sanja Pekovic, who is mentioned here in the brackets. And then we finally kind of decided, okay, she's teaching the course that it's called Tourist Guiding Engagement Animation in Tourism. And I had a course that it's also Creative Hospitality and Tourism. So we wanted to kind of start off a little bit safe first to see, okay, how does this first edition go? Because I can tell already we are planning to have a second edition as well, because it's going so well. It was really easy to communicate. Obviously, we spoke the same language, so that helped, but I don't think it was a problem even to communicate in English either. And first, what we did is that we exchanged a few emails. Then we had a few online meetings. Then I flew to Montenegro. And we sat down and had a look at really the course objectives, the topics that we both cover, type of assignments, what they have, grading criteria, all these kind of standard things, what you usually do in your course anyway. So I don't think it took really any additional time, which I think was, some people were a little bit afraid of this. So is this going to take a longer time than what I usually do? I would say no. For me, it was interesting to see that we cover some same topics, some different topics. So I think this also gave a possibility for students then to kind of, by attending those separate sessions that we are now holding them online, it gave them a possibility maybe to widen their knowledge and learn some new things than what would they otherwise learn just if they had one course. Can you go to the next slide, please? So when we met in person and we started planning, obviously, like I said, first thing was the content of the course. We started defining the learning goals. We started thinking, okay, how are we going to monitor all these things? How is the grading going to happen? They have a different grading system than we do. So we decided, oh, let's go with the percentages. Then it's easy for us to convert later on into whatever grading you have. Do you have from 6 to 10 or 1 to 5, whichever way it goes? So we decided for that. And then we also decided to do something which we do quite a lot here in Finland, but I think they do in Montenegro too, to search actually for a commissioner, so that students would have a real life project to work on. So we don't have this, what it would be if it would be type of projects, case studies. And they found in Montenegro actually a maritime museum that it's situated in Kotor, and they had some problems with getting the Gen Z and the younger generation in general to attend the museum. So we decided, okay, let's take that as a commissioning project. And then we started planning more kind of detailed sessions for the student, like info session. Okay, what kind of information it's important to give to the students? They don't know each other. We had slight differences in the groups. They had more attendance to the course than we did. So, okay, how do we make the groups actually that each group will have students from Montenegro as well as from Haga Helia? And then we after that transition to more those admin things. Okay, how do we exchange the emails, Zoom, this kind of things, So that was like the initial planning phase that happened while I was in Montenegro now in February. And if you can go please to the next slide. The first session now took place beginning of March. And I had first the session with my students here physically. She had sessions with her students physically. We informed them what is going to happen, explained a little bit the background of that, explained a bit about the project and about the process, and we communicated very clearly the deadlines for them right from beginning, which I think is quite important, especially if you are putting people from different cultures together. Also, I have a lot of exchange students, so it's not only Finnish students as well. And then we actually booked an online session where we called the commissioner, who was then able to give a really like deep insight and the background of the project to all of the students. So it wasn't us presenting the commissioning project, but it was a director of the museum, actually a curator of the museum, presenting it. And then following that, we made a kind of little icebreaker, which is a must, really, I have to say. And we connected the groups, and we had this little activity for them where we asked them to meet online in Zoom and then to send us some creative picture or something by a certain deadline. So we actually make sure they have met and they have connected. For some groups, it was totally no problem to do this. Some other groups had challenges. I think some people were shy, or maybe some people were not as motivated and so on. So now what we are doing at the moment is that we are trying to reform few groups to see that, okay, if some people are maybe dropping out of the course, we'll put these other people together who are actually more motivated and want to learn. And what we really try to do during these sessions is to reflect on this academic content and the topics that we are covering, but also talk about this intercultural exchange. So the different ways of working, different skill sets, different knowledge and possibilities that they are able to learn from each other. A few of the challenges that came, and like I said, this only started not even 4 weeks ago, was that some groups had challenges in finding the time. I mean, we are not that much time difference. It's only 1 hour, so it's not a problem really. But there are a lot of people that are working and then also doing full-time education. So they had to meet on the weekends, which I don't really think it's a problem. They work on the weekends anyway. And then some skills in problem solving and also some skills in decision making, which is something that we anticipated already. So we had already kind of planned how to offer them support in this, because we thought, okay, these things and challenges might come. So far, the feedback that we got from, or at least I got from my students, but as well Sanya got from her students too, it's that this is exciting, it's different, it's something that they have never done before. They are attending some of the lessons online when I'm teaching, also attending some of the lessons online when Sanya is teaching as well. And students have said it's really nice to know when they actually, what are the other people doing in the universities, what kind of topics they are studying, what approach, where did they stand knowledge-wise? I think this is always the question that the students have when they study in different places. And actually, yesterday, one student, I met him in the hallway and he said that, oh, we had a 5-hour meeting with my group. I was like, why 5 hours? You don't need 5 hours to solve this. But they said they actually clicked so well that now they are even planning some travels that they will meet each other physically and stuff. So I thought, okay, this is really brilliant. So we are not only really helping them to learn some things or to apply the theories in really for the commissioner in the practical sense, but they are also creating those connections that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise if it wasn't for this. So I think that's a great plus and really nice feedback. Can you move, please, to the next slide? So when it comes to the follow-up, what we do here is that you really need a weekly follow-up with groups. Like I said, some are more active than the others, but then also offering them support in ways of like solving problems and so on. And I think what is really important is to make a project pit stop, which is what we do anyway, or at least I do in most of my courses, that at least twice we will have an individual sessions with students where we sit down for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and see what kind of challenges they have, where they are with the project, what are they planning, and when are the deadlines, and this kind of general pit stop about this. And we are having 2 pit stops without a commissioner, but then we also have 1 pit stop already agreed with a commissioner where they will come in, and then students will have a chance for 10 minutes to present them per group what they've done. And they're able already to give a feedback in the phase while they're planning the project. So I think that helps a lot. So you're not kind of, blind, deep diving into some solution that you think it's good, but a commissioner already gives you a feedback in terms of, is it possible to do they have budget and so forth. So I think this is really nice to add this real life dimension for them. We have those joint online sessions, like I said, and this really helps with strengthening the groups. So what we do is that often we have this kind of traditional an hour lecture, and then we just put them in a breakout rooms. We use Zoom. It's easy because both universities use it. So we just put them in breakout rooms, and then we transition from group to group, like you would usually do if you have an online session, to see, where they're at and if you can help with something and so on. And when it comes to the Q&A, I think I usually leave about 15, 20 minutes, at the end of the lecture for Q&A. But if you have COIL, I think it's better to leave a little bit longer time, simply because now we are talking not only of these people not knowing each other, but also there is a language barrier, there is a real life case and so on. So sometimes people tend to have a lot of questions. So I think it's very good to leave a little bit longer time so you can answer to all of the questions when they actually need an answer for that. Because if you catch them too late, then the train is gone and the motivation drops. I think everyone knows this. You guys are all teaching, so you know it. And like I mentioned already, we do this joint grading. So I mentioned this already. I will not talk more about this, but we decided we will sit together. Everyone will read reports. We will both be present in the presentations, final presentations. Commissioner will give his feedback. And then we are not grading only the final outcome, but we are actually grading the entire process, how much work they've put. And we are asking all the groups also to report in the written reports what they will submit to us, how was the process, initial meetings, how many meetings they had, and so forth. So we are kind of trying not just to grade the outcome, but also the whole thing. Can you go please to the next slide? The next steps would be once the course is over, and this will be beginning or mid-May. Once it's over, we are planning already to sit down and reflect on the whole process, so kind of to learn and see, what if we are doing, because we are planning to do it again, how are we going to do it? Would it be something similar, or would they have a case from Finland? And just kind of generally going through the whole things and seeing what were the pluses and minuses, and then maybe designing something new, because it's not just about repeating what you've done, but maybe also taking slightly a different perspective, and maybe even involving some more people. Who knows? I mean, it's all open. But I'm not sure if I have any other slides. I think I don't. Yes, that's all the slides I have. But my experience so far has been really positive. So thank you guys for organizing this, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have this opportunity. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation, Violetta. I mean, honestly, I couldn't have come up with a more perfect example, because you've literally taken all the theoretical words that I had spoken about before and you've actually put them into practice. And congratulations to you and to Sanya on such an interesting program. And I hope that it continues on. And of course, like for the audience, as Violetta explained, it is more about ensuring that your students have that sort of engagement. And well, if they can develop 5-hour friendships and then move together, I think you've already achieved what programs
Yes.
like the COIL are designed for. So I'm hopeful that examples like what Violetta has suggested, and of course other interactions that you have within the group. By the way, I'm very grateful to you all for connecting with each other. So I hope that this will help develop newer sort of partnerships and hopefully more COIL programs across the Ulysses network. So moving on to the next few slides. So, it's just a question like how Violetta explained with her experience. There are certain questions. Not every program would be a COIL program. So you need to figure out that what you are offering, your program, is that good for a COIL experience? Do you think you can bring in those methodology, those technological interventions that are needed for your methodology? Most importantly, do you have support? Or, if it's a question of funding, I thought that was actually very creative that Violetta and Sanya went together to look for external programs, and they had commissioners who actually supported the program when it came to, the tourism part of view and for museums. And then again, the most important thing, it's like, do you have a partner? And if not, then, what exactly are you looking for in an ideal partner? And again, like I said, I'm very glad that you are starting to connect with each other in the chat rooms. And I hope that these engagements will continue on into the future and, in developing newer COIL programs. So just again, for all the participants, across the Ulysses network, we have developed certain online resources, which you can definitely use. The QR codes are here for your reference, but then, we will be sharing this presentation as well. So you can just have a general sort of guidebook on how you can develop COILs across the network, what are the different perspectives. And again, like Violetta explained, it is a lot of negotiation with your students as well. So there is a student guide as well onto COIL and how they, or what would be the sort of expectations or requirements that they would have to accept if they were to be participants in programs such as COIL. And now I would like to call upon our very amazing, friendly colleague Bianca from MCI. So Bianca, for the participants, is our Ulysses mobility coordinator. And now I invite Bianca to explain the seed fund call for teachers for 2025. Over to you, Bianca.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Shandan, for the introduction. It's so good to see so many of you here today, and also for everyone for already connecting in the chat. It's really good to see. Okay, so we heard a lot about the theory behind the COIL, the practical side about it. We've had a great example from Violetta. And then we also have something really great for you, which is the Ulysses Seed Fund Call for Teachers. So there's actually a grant. This is also the grant that Violetta was talking about. Available for you within the Ulysses partnership to connect with another partner and actually meet each other in person to set up the COIL together. So you can really co-create your course together in person. So we have the seed fund call open at the moment. The deadline is the 20th of May. So shortly in about 2 months. And it will cover €2,500 maximum. This is for the traveling partner that will visit another Ulysses partner to talk and develop the course together. So we highly encourage you, of course, to check it out. There's also a COIL handbook that we created for you to support you in this process as well. So you can click on the link, scan the code, and read a little bit more about the seed fund call. The idea is that it has to be implemented by June 2026. So it's approximately 1 year to develop and implement it in total. We also have more seed fund calls coming up. So for those maybe that don't have a partner yet, or maybe you are interested, but the timeline is currently not working out, please know that more calls will be coming up. This will all be disseminated internally at your university, so keep an eye out for this. So maybe moving on to the next slides. Of course, some of you might be very motivated to set up this COIL, but you might not have a partner yet. So we have a few platforms for you to connect with each other. So one is our Ulysses expert database platform. So you can create a profile and then look for other teachers, or it's also for researchers, but you can also look for teachers on here to see if there's someone in the topic or in the field of your expertise. We also started with the Padlets, so it's matchmaking Padlets, a platform that we have. We started new with this, so it's of course really great because I saw that some of you have been sharing email addresses and your expertise and the topics that you teach in. It's really great to also add your profile on this Padlet platform that we have, so you can actually also find each other there. Then we also have a curriculum search engine. So also here you can actually find a teacher profile and a link to the website, find their contact details also. And of course, we also have a Ulysses LinkedIn page where you can also try to find teachers in your field of interest. So just some platforms for you to use. Of course, we currently have the chat as well. So if you already see or someone that you find, hey, that could work out, please ask for the email address or share your email address so you can reach out to each other. We really highly encourage you to connect with each other. And besides these platforms, if you're still struggling, maybe you can move to the next slide, Chandan. We also have a really great dedicated mobility team for you at your university as well. So each university has their own Ulysses local mobility officer. So if you somehow are not able to connect, or you still have questions about the seed fund call or about the COIL, please reach out to your own local mobility officer, because they are really willing to help you, and they can also maybe help you in finding a partner as well. So you can either scan the code, it will go to the website where you can find your own local mobility officer email address and the name of them as well. I think that's mostly it from my side. Thank you so much. Yeah, check it out. There is funding available for you to meet. Really highly encourage you to apply for this. And then also please keep in mind that more are coming up as well. Before the summer, the next one will open as well. And then there's a bit more time until October to apply. So there's definitely opportunities for you to reach out to each other. Thank you so much, Shandon. Back to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Bianca, for explaining the seed fund call. Again, we have officially reached the end of the presentation. So, first of all, I would like to thank you all for your continued engagement, your attention, and please feel free to continue connecting with each other. As Bianca explained, we have multiple resources which you can consult in case you would like to find like-minded partners, hopefully, or any other questions that you may have on how to actually go about developing the COIL. And if there are questions, I believe we still have some time, so you could, if you could direct them into the chat box, and then we will try to answer them as best as possible. Or again, you can reach out to your local mobility officers. All the resources will be made available to you. We will share these slides. And that's about it from my end. Thank you very much. I hope you have better clarity on running coils. And of course, we look forward to the newer sort of ideations that you would have working together. So if there are questions, please go ahead in the chat box. Otherwise, please feel free to connect with each other. Thank you very much once again. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Sure. If there are no questions, I'm also going to just call upon Violetta again in case you have some specific questions for Violetta. You could do that, or do you have any final words before we end the day, Violetta?
No, I just would like to thank you for asking me to participate in this, because I don't think I would do this reflection if it wasn't for this. I think, you go and you don't really often look back. So it was nice that I had a chance also to reflect on this process. And thank you guys so much for doing such a great job.
Yes, Violetta, there is just a specific question coming in from Kevin, who is planning on creating a COIL with the University of Sevilla. And he was wondering how many times you have joint online sessions. And he says that Haga Helia, the courses only run for 8 weeks, and in the master's degree program, they only meet once a week. So it's a question about how best
well, I
you
think
can
that
engage.
really depends of the course. Yeah, we do have this structure that courses run 8 weeks, and then you have one intensive week, and again 8 weeks. Some of the courses can be 16 if they're longer, but usually they're 8. But it's also possible, like in University of Montenegro, courses run longer. So we just decided that for these 8 weeks that I have a course, we will do the project together. And that was suitable for us. How many times we met? I think we met twice online for about half an hour. Then we exchanged some emails here and there. And then when I was in Montenegro, we had a full day meeting where we really went through all the things, all the stuff, what I mentioned. So it doesn't require that much time. If you already have a plan for your course, what you are doing, and the teacher on the other end has the plan, then it's just about sitting and putting the dates together and times and looking. So I wouldn't say it's really time consuming. For me, at least, it was very interesting to do. So I didn't even count the hours, to be honest. But it was really interesting to see what they're doing and how. But it doesn't require much more planning than you're doing, because you're not changing the course content. you already have your course, what you're doing anyway. They have their course, what they're doing. And then you just see, okay, how can we put these things together so students can attend some of your sessions and can attend some of mine and do the joint project. So students obviously meet also outside of the lesson times and they do the project work outside of the lesson times. So you don't have to pretty much plan that so much. Only this icebreaker and kind of teams a little bit, presenting pit stops and this stuff. But other than that, it's not really time consuming. At least it wasn't for me. I don't know. Is it for everyone like this? But just from my perspective.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you, Violetta. I
No
hope that
worries.
answers your question, Kevin. Okay,
And
perfect.
Kevin, you can email me also because we work for the same organization. So if you want to email, it's fine for me too.
Yes. Please feel free to also use this opportunity to connect internally with your colleagues as well. We recommend all levels of communication and contact and collaboration. Are there any other specific questions? All right. So if there aren't any more, so I would just like to thank you all once again. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon and thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.